Hey guys, Nick here. I'm going to go ahead and just state the obvious. This is a marketing tool for my real estate business. I've been a realtor for 20 years right here in Nashville, but who wants to listen to a boring podcast about real estate? Good news, it's not. This is a podcast about people that I've built relationships with since I moved here in 1988. If what I stand for resonates with you and you're looking to buy or sell a home in this area, let's talk. No pressure, just a conversation, kind of like this podcast.
This is the 615 Podcast with your host, veteran realtor and entrepreneur, Nick Woodard.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning back into the 615 Podcast. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. We just wrapped up a great interview with my good friend, Phillip Cantrell, which we'll be releasing next week. So make sure to check that out. We all kind of stuck around the studio after the interview. We want to have a more important conversation, kind of about the recent events of the last 2 weeks. Nothing really planned here. I didn't really prep for this. I just wanted to speak from the heart, let the conversation go where God directs it to go. I'm not someone with a big following or influential by any means. I'm just a regular guy that has a small platform and a deep love for Jesus. I want to use my small voice to let God use it to carry out his will in any way he sees fit. So Phillip and producer Jim are also believers. And I think it's our duty to openly talk about the passing of Charlie Kirk and the impact that it's going to have on the kingdom here. So no reason to get it into political side of things. That's not what this is about. This is about honoring a man that boldly spoke about his faith in the public eye, knowing the potential danger he could face, and he did it anyway. So, Phillip, what's on your heart concerning what we witnessed the past couple of weeks?
Well, it's horrific. It's absolutely horrific. And it is really... We talked about this a little bit earlier. You know, it's just heartbreaking that things have to reach a certain level before we actually wake up and find out what's going on and say, hey, that's not right. In this case, it cost a man's life. It's cost other lives as well. This is not the first one. This is just the latest one and probably the biggest one. But you compare the two segments of our society, and one segment wants to burn things down, the other segment wants to pray. And I think that the only way that our society survives as a whole is if we all turn to prayer, if we all turn to just unvarnished, Lord, here I am. But to be able to do that, we have to call a duck a duck. When something is not right, we have to call it out as not right. We can't just say, oh, well, we don't want to offend somebody. We don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. And you don't want to randomly, arbitrarily hurt somebody's feelings. But if it's against God's word, it's against God's word, and that means I'm against it.
Yeah.
Plain and simple, really.
Well, I think, this has been a very tough week for me personally, just, feeling the darkness of it. And then kind of you try to stay off social media, but you see all these just hateful remarks. And, it's kind of hard to see how we as a society pick our sides, but a lot of us don't go back to the human aspect of that. A man lost his life for speaking out about what he believes.
2 babies don't have a daddy today.
Yeah.
Because he was willing to stand up and do it. And the question is, do we have equal courage? And if we don't, we need to reanalyze that. We need to figure that out. Yeah. That's really where it lies. I mean, I get being accused all of my life of being a plain-spoken individual. And sometimes when I stand up to give a speech, I say, I'm going to give this speech. I'm probably going to offend somebody in the course of this speech, but I'll apologize now. Moving on.
Right. We
got to do what's right, and we got to adhere to God's word.
Well, I think, Charlie is someone that I can honestly say lived like a disciple of Jesus. He put himself in harm's way every day and still boldly preached the gospel. And again, it has nothing to do with politics. He put himself in a position to boldly speak the love of God and let everybody know he was a devout Christian. And that took some balls to do that, knowing he put himself in a position that could ultimately and did ultimately lead to his demise.
Mm-hmm.
What I take away from this is one thing that I've learned. I need to be more educated on the Bible.
And that's how he did it. If you watch any of his conversations with college students over the years, he never badgered anybody. He never belittled anybody, but he never backed up either. And he did it with logic and knowledge and compassion to say, no, that's not truth. This is truth. This is what we know. And he would use science. He would use history. He would use the Bible. He would use every argument. And he knew those arguments. And that's important that we learn those arguments. And it's not easy. It's hard. It's hard. And that's the part that people shy away from.
Well, I've always kind of been a place of, this is how I believe. And, if you want a relationship with Jesus, follow what I do. But I've never been great at being able to truly articulate it to people. Yeah. And I think that's something I take away that I'm going to have to do better about that.
Yeah. I don't want to be critical of anybody, and Jim, you can chime in here when you want to,
sure.
But I think that as Christians, we have been trained by the churches to be passive and compliant. And that's not a bad thing, but, I agree that we need to pray about it. When we have an issue, we have a problem, we have a challenge, we have somebody who attacks us, we need to pray for them, and it's just as Jesus did. But Jesus also got a bullwhip and turned over the tables in the temple when the tax collectors were taking over. And there's a certain time where you just have to say, no, I'm not going to. I will pray while I correct your behavior. Yeah. I guess that's the point. And Charlie did it with logic and reason and knowledge. And that's probably our best approach. But I think that how many times have we heard in church? I was raised in the Baptist church. I've been baptized when I was, I think, 6 years old, right? I got rebaptized when I was 12, and I realized what it actually meant.
Right.
And it's always, we must sit here passively with our hands folded and just pray for them. And I think that is critically important. Don't get me wrong. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying here. But I also think that it takes action to call a duck and say that behavior is not acceptable in this society because these are the outcomes that happen as a result of that, and explain that to them. And that's what Charlie was doing, if you think about it.
Right.
Strong man.
Well, I believe we are right on the forefront of a revival. I think that this has opened a lot of people's eyes. I've heard so many stories this week of, people going to church for the first time or reading the Bible for the first time. And like you said, it's unbelievably heartbreaking that, that had to happen for this to happen.
Yeah.
But I think we're on the verge of seeing some major changes, especially with the youth of our country.
Yeah, man, I think in 2020, Satan almost won when he convinced the government to lock down the entire society, where people couldn't go to church, they couldn't contribute, they couldn't hear the word. I mean, they could find it if they wanted to, but many of them took that as a reason to just sleep in on Sunday mornings. Sadly, about 60% of the church has not come back. They're still sitting at home. They've gotten out of the habit. They've gotten out of the pattern of going to church on Sundays. That's devastating our society, and I think that return potentially has been accelerated by this event. And people will come back. And I saw this when I was a kid, Billy Graham. I mean, you can talk about him all you want to as an old fogey preacher man, but he could lay some gospel out there. And you can go on YouTube and watch some of his sermons, and it is like, wow. I remember going to Billy Graham crusades when I was a kid. And I had a drug problem when I was a kid. My mother drugged me to church every time the doors were open. It didn't stick for a long time, and it stuck now. So in the end, it's all right. But still, I think that those crusades, if we can get the revival across our nation back to that level, oh my gosh, we can do anything that the Lord wants us to do. But we got to stay focused on the Lord's mission. We can't take it into our own selves. And I could go down a rabbit hole real fast with the mega churches and all that, but it's if they help one person, I'm not going to blame them. This just
proves it.
Yeah.
I believe we are smack dab in the middle of a spiritual battle.
We have for a long time,
not
son.
In the flesh. This is very
I think for the beginning of time, we've been there.
Yes.
It's been a spiritual battle all around us at any given moment. It's just it ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
I think it's now more in our face in a tangible way where the masses can see it.
And it's very evident, and that's part of the plan.
Yeah.
See, my take on it is I'm not surprised about this at all.
Yeah.
There's nothing new under the sun. This has happened before.
Well, he's told us we'll be persecuted for our beliefs.
Yep.
We're told that, quite frankly. So just know that's going to happen and accept it.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I think 2020, Satan almost won.
The disciples, their proclamation of, look, guys, I can't tell you what I didn't see or did see. This is what happened. I was on the inner circle. I was part of the 3 that was on his inner circle. Hang me, do what you need to do. I cannot deny what I saw.
Right.
And what I know.
Right.
So I know what's waiting for me.
Yeah.
Have at it.
That's right.
Hang me upside down.
The quicker I do, the quicker I get to Jesus anyway.
Right. And I die a martyr.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
12 martyrs. I think it was 10 or 11 martyrs, actually.
Yeah.
So
I think the difference in this and, what we've seen in the past of people in the public being killed and, there's no riots, there's no burning. It's pulled people together in prayer. And this could have gone really, really bad.
Oh, yeah.
This could have gone really bad. There are a lot of people like myself. I'm a conservative. I'm a Christian. I feel like I've been bullied and pushed around for a long, long time. There's a lot of us that aren't as even killed as I am that this could have gone bad.
That's the test, right?
Yeah.
That's the test.
what's the plan, though? How do you get in front of that?
For me, it's being more bold about my faith. It's more, I've never been someone to shy away from it. I try to live my life to where you see Jesus in me, but now I think I'm going to be a little more open about it, a little more openly talking about it, being more educated about the Bible and being a little more aggressive with it.
A lot of it comes down to, and this is something my business partner and I share, when you come across a skeptic or a non-believer or atheist, what have you, somebody who's belligerent against the word, a lot of it involves, obviously, they will know you by your fruits.
That's right.
And how do you treat them? Because you have to be, I get what you're saying, but at the same time, they have to be ready to receive.
Right.
Everybody's going to come to a fork in the road at some point in your life. I tell my kids, look, guys, whether you believe or don't believe, we're all going to find out one day. Okay. And the bottom line is you need to ask yourself, being that I thought the way you did at one point in time, what made me change my mind? If you think that I'm a halfway intelligent human being, your uncle, who's a top attorney, very intelligent person, is an ardent believer. What made him believe? John, my business partner, intelligent guy, off the charts intelligence. Wears the Bible like it's an organ. It's a part of his body. What made him believe? There's something you have to contend with that. And when you're ready to contend with that, I want to be the person. I'm here for you. I can't tell you anything right now. You're not ready to receive.
Not ready to receive.
That's a big part of it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the narrative, I heard a pastor recently, actually a guy who used to be part of the Bridge Church down here in Spring Hill. His name is Josh Howerton. He went to Texas at a mega church, but he's been garnering a lot of accolades and attention lately. He's been getting huge numbers, but his message is absolutely spot on. I love it. He says, the narrative has changed to where if they start calling us Nazis and all this stuff over time, they can now label themselves as the oppressed and we're the oppressors.
Yeah, of course.
And by all means, go after the oppressors. That's what we're dealing with.
Twisting of the message around.
Whether it be mainstream media, social media, whatever, I think that's what ultimately led to this is, that shooter probably believed he was doing a good thing.
Right.
Because he's been fed this narrative over and over and over again.
And then you got all the conspiracy theorists and all that stuff it's like, okay, it's just, it's more confusion. If anything, actually, look at what is the devil, what is Satan, the king, what is his job here?
Steal, kill, and destroy.
Destroy, create chaos, confuse, What does he feed? What do he and his legion of demons, what do they feed off of? They have to have sustenance, right? In order to survive. What do they feed off of?
Hatred and disruption.
Fear.
Yeah.
See, I think they really screwed up this go around, though.
But he knows.
Yeah.
He knows the end.
Yeah.
Well, just to go to a place where, God can use evil tragedy to grow his kingdom. So Turning Point USA had, let me look at my notes, had 900 official college chapters, 1,200 high school chapters. And as of today, 2 weeks after losing Charlie, there are 62,000 requests for new charters.
Yeah. It's exploded.
That is incredible.
That's the power of a martyr. I think
that'll change.
All Charlie did was change his address.
Yeah.
There you go.
Charlie did that. That was a famous, I believe, who did you mention earlier? The pastor, not Jim Baker. Yeah.
No, I didn't mention him.
No, you didn't mention Jim Baker. Yes.
Daniel Lappin.
No, it was a big name, and actually he was referred to the same, but basically that was a quote of his that, look, when people die and they're ardent in their belief, they didn't die, they just changed their address, man.
Right. Well, Charlie said that. Yeah. That's what's been said. The quicker I go, then the quicker I get to be with Jesus and just change my address. I'm still present.
Yep.
I think one of the most fascinating things we saw this week was, I don't know if y'all caught the memorial yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
How many politicians openly talked about Jesus compared to how many you've ever heard?
I don't think it's ever happened in the history of the U.S.
Has never happened.
Really struck me.
What was their motivation is my question.
Politicians, there's that.
Yeah.
Does it matter if it reaches somebody and they say, oh, well, maybe I need to reconsider what I'm doing?
Yeah. So, it's seed planting.
And that's please, the mega church thing, I'm not trying to be negative on mega churches, but if they're preaching from the Bible, I have zero issue with them, but some of them are not.
Right.
So that's the differentiation. I mean, with the politician, even if those that are not preaching from the Bible, if they reach one person and may that one person reconsider, who am I to criticize that?
And if y'all didn't see it, please go watch Erica's speech.
Yeah.
I mean, when she said that she forgives him, that is what the love of Jesus is. And that is the definition of it.
I absolutely lost it right there. Grown man crying like a baby sitting in his chair at home.
Well, I did want to share this. I read this quote this week and found it. It floored me. Someone said, if Jesus had told Charlie before he walked out there that he needed this to happen to grow the kingdom of God, he would have walked out there anyway.
Yeah. Just like the apostles.
Do you realize that are you willing to accept death?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For what we believe? That's probably what it takes. All right.
But in the end, death is inevitable anyway.
It is. But I'm more, obviously not the one that you planned on.
Right.
We want to grow old and die naturally.
Exactly.
But, that's the thing is that are you prepared to die for what you believe in?
Yeah.
That's a big question.
Well, historically, throughout the history of the U.S., that our country is what it is today, and I'm talking about in terms of greatness, because of people who had that attitude.
Yeah.
You think about D-Day, just as an example.
Oh, yeah.
I'm doing a D-Day bucket list tour next summer, but 18, 19-year-olds that were willing to die for a cause that they believe was correct. And there was also 18, 19-year-olds on the other side that were willing to die for their cause.
Same. Yeah.
But to have the horrific aspect of war aside, to have that mental attitude and acuity to understand, I may walk out that door and I may die, but I'm going to do it anyway because I need to walk through that door. Do we have that as a society today? Generally speaking, I think we don't. But
the cyclical nature is, and it's funny that you bring that up because I'm part of the book that I always talk about, pendulum. Everything happens in 80-year swings.
Yeah.
Where like the last dark time, they call it the zenith of a we, and we just went through it in 2023, the zenith. Last time before that was 1943, based on the principles of the book. And you're not wrong, because what happens is strong men create good times.
3 generations, shirt sleeve to shirt sleeve. Yeah.
Good times create weak men. Weak
Yeah.
men create bad times.
That's
Bad
right.
times create strong men.
Strong men. Yeah.
And it is cyclical like that.
Yeah.
And maybe it's Gen X's fault. I don't know. Maybe it's the boomers' fault. Who knows? In terms of here we are.
I'm a boomer, okay?
I'm Gen X. So I'm right there with you, man. When we're having to invent drama and issues to create the illusion of struggle or suffering in this day and age that we have, it means we have it way too good.
Way too good.
And the reset button is unfortunately a bloody conflict, a calamity. Always has been. That's why you had the baby
goes a little
boom.
hand in hand with that too.
Yes. Yes. And it always happens cyclically.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what we're missing. We're missing a war, a civil war or something.
Yeah.
But as again, my business partner pointed out, he says, to your pendulum theory, every time we hit these things, it seems like a corkscrew keeps on getting driven into the cork.
Cranked in tighter
deep
and tighter and tighter.
deep and deep, and it releases more evil.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what we're anticipating, man. That's what Revelation was for.
There you go. That's what I was just about to say. Well, you read Revelations.
I'm just full of sunshine and rainbows today, aren't I?
Well, it's truth. And this is the point. People don't talk about things like this, and that's why they grow to create narratives that are false in their heads, because they're afraid to confront the truth and understand exactly what is happening and when it's happening and what caused it.
To answer your question, I think, yes, this generation that's coming up could adapt and learn.
Yeah.
When things like, okay, you just have to go do this.
Yeah.
There is a fight or flight that we all have. Yeah. And I think, I would say that a majority of human beings when they're in their 20s, definitely, especially men, because of, hormones, whatever, probably have that fight, We just had, the guy who killed Osama bin Laden on the Small Town podcast, and he talked about they were going out and he anticipated not coming back from that mission.
But still willing to do it.
Still willing to do it.
It's kind of funny. We were talking about my book a while ago, and I'm not doing a little self-promotion here. That's not my point. But I'm boomer, you're a Z, you're millennial. Okay, right?
81, whatever that is.
Yeah. You're a Z.
You're Z? Okay. So the millennials, I'm getting this thing, that Z is right behind boomers, right? Do I have that right?
Z is behind.
It's boomer, Z, millennial, and then X or something like that?
No, Gen X was boomer, Gen X.
Boomer, Gen X. Okay, so I've got it backwards. So it's boomer, X, and then millennials.
Boomer, X, millennial.
Yeah.
Y.
Something like that. Okay, so four rankings or strata of population there, right? Mm-hmm. So the appeal that I'm finding for the book is not with a generation immediately behind. It's the one that's 2 generations behind, the millennials. Yeah. That seem to say, okay, I'm 40. I'm not really got this figured out yet. And I'm 40 and realizing I don't have it figured out yet. I need some help. I need some mentorship. I need some guidance. And so I take that as a very positive turning of our society to realize that they don't have all the information and all the knowledge, and they're seeking it actively. Some seek it in good places, some seek it in bad places. And I try our obligation as boomers is to provide the good information, provide the good knowledge. That's the wisdom. Whole point of that. Yeah. And if I go to see heaven tomorrow, I take it all with me if I don't leave it behind. And that's a mission.
I see it like a human life as seasons. And this is why I think ages 20 to 40 in any given life is the most stressful, anxiety.
100%.
Reason, but do you know why?
Well, I look at it as a human level. Like, let's say you get married, you have kids, you're starting your career. Me and my brother have laughed about this before. Your kids get to know you during the most difficult time of your entire life.
Oh, yeah. And you're still trying to figure yourself out.
You're still trying to figure yourself out.
But you're not the first generation that ever walked through those trials.
Of course.
And yet at the same time, you're not seeking knowledge from the generation that has walked through those trials to try to avoid some of it.
And why is that?
I am. That's why I call you and Bruce all the time.
True story.
Interesting that you do that. You probably do look to your dad, I would assume.
100%.
You still have him.
Yeah.
I lost my dad when I was 31. So my father figure was out the door. I had my father-in-law, who I think reluctantly would kind of pour into me sometimes. But I had to kind of figure it out. My brother was We didn't really have much of a relationship back then. So it was literally just looking for other mentors, and that I did or did not have.
That's a failure of my generation to provide that mentorship for the younger generation.
You know what you know, and it is what it is.
The oddest thing is the older I get, the smarter my dad gets.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I tell this. So I have
as if I should have listened a little bit earlier.
I have a grandson who just turned 3, and I told my daughter the other day, I said, "Do you realize that in about another 10 years, your IQ drops to single digits and doesn't recur to triple digits until he gets to be about 30?"
Yeah.
You understand that, right?
There's a reason why grandkids and their grandparents get along better than their parents.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's that generational gap.
Right. That's
because there's also because typically the next generation, per the book, looks at their old man and says, well, whatever you thought was cool, not me, old man. Look at the 40s and 60s, for example. Right. Everything in the 60s was contrarian to what they did in they believed in the 40s.
That's right.
Okay. They believed in self-empowerment. It was an upswing into what they call a me, which zenithed in 1983. And that took about 20 years. The actual 60s, as we know it, only went from 63 to about 69. It wasn't the entire decade. It was shaking off the old shackles of the 40s and 50s where everything was common and you had to have the same car, the same color, you dress the same way, you better have a nuclear family, that kind of thing. No, man, I don't want that. I'm the next generation. I want the Corvette because that's me. That feeds my inner animal. And that was the attitude as we got into the 80s. And of course, now you had, as you went through the 70s, you had all the musical shifts and everything like that and the cultural shifts, literature and shifts and stuff like that. It culminated in 1983. Look at the movies. They're all just like, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Mall Street, Gordon Gekko. Look at all these things. Tony Robbins came to prominence in the 80s. There's a reason why. Is because he was channeling, we're awaken the giant within. We're all about self-empowerment, self-improvement. And then everything, when it started coming back down, that was the 90s. The 90s was kind of a dark decade,
Mm-hmm. So how do we, moving forward, take, a tragedy like this and get some good out of it and just change the course of history? I think that's what we're about to see, especially, my son is 16. I'm around his friends. They all kind of have that more patriotic vibe than I saw, 10 years before that.
And that's going to be a big difference maker.
Yeah.
I think there are people in the next generation, our kids, who are realizing, again, going back to the book, each side of the pendulum talks about taking a good thing too far. We've obviously done that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. What started out the tipping point in 2003 to where we are now, we're way too far.
Mm-hmm.
And usually some sort of a reset button re-hits it. And in the book, they talk about, look, what's going to without some sort of war or conflict, what does solve the problem? And it's a word that's being thrown around a lot lately, and it's called empathy. They will know you by your fruits. That's a big part of the answer.
Yeah.
Model what you want to see. And it's tough.
I think
because
that's
a big
our job
part of
now.
it, a big attitude part of it is I'm okay, you're not okay. Because there's 4 shifts of that too throughout the entire 80 year. There's I'm okay, you're okay. I'm not okay, you're okay. I'm not okay, you're not okay. I'm okay, you're not okay. That's where we are. Yeah. So if you have to have empathy for somebody, how can you get past the notion of I'm okay, you're not okay? Because if I can articulate my antagonist's viewpoint better than they can, that must mean I may not be okay. You see, it's a conundrum.
Yeah.
And as my father used to tell me, put your pride in your pocket.
Mm-hmm.
But he'd follow it up with where you put your money.
That's right.
And I remember, and it's like, I didn't know what that meant back then.
Yeah.
Now I do.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if he left me with a nugget of wisdom, it was that.
Well, and I think the key component there is empathy. Yes, it's fundamental. It's jugular, but also is open your mouth. Open your mouth. Call it what it is.
Just don't do it on social media. It's not changing anybody's mind.
Well, you talk about you mentioned social media on the front end, and what about just turning those people off?
Yeah.
So they don't intrude in your life.
That's what I do.
And that's what I do. Mm-hmm. I mean, if somebody, and I'm not saying that you want to censor people. I don't care. They can go talk to the wall, but I don't need that garbage in my brain.
You're marinating your mind in good stuff.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's what I call that.
And that's the quickest when you say, well, I'm afraid they'll know I unfriend them. They don't care.
No.
Right.
They just want to spew it.
Yeah.
So why give them an audience?
I will say that I've grown, my business has grown, my friendships have grown, my reach has grown when I boldly started speaking about who I am and what I believe in.
Right. So the key there is who you are and what you believe in.
Yeah.
It's not to slam somebody else with
Right.
it, right?
Right.
To say, this is what I do. When Charlie Kirk got killed, I didn't have a lot of memes on my social media. I had a picture of praying hands.
All right.
Because that's the place I went first. It's the place I remain. Thinking that is who I am. You be who you are. I'm going to be who I am. And the example will speak volumes.
Yeah.
Right. Well, our prayers go out to Erica and the kids, and I fully believe this tragedy is going to reshape our country for the better, and he'll not have died in vain. Charlie's death sparked a movement that can't be stopped. They took out one, but I think they created a million more.
There you go.
All right, guys, thanks for listening.